Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of AI Amigos Show. My name is Marina, and I'm very happy to be here with my good friend James. How are you, James?
Hey, Marina, we're still one Chinaman short.
I know. I think he deserves some vacation anyway. Um,
And
but
welcome to our viewer that's in there now. I see we got a couple of viewers.
that's very nice. Well, welcome, everybody. And today, our session would be a little bit more personal, as I mentioned earlier on our post on LinkedIn. And this is actually because yesterday I am actually honored that I've been invited to a session that was called Bold Moves to encourage more people to actually go through the IT path, especially women, because we see that we need more women in tech. And the idea was actually to tell how did we find out that it was our passion, and talking about a couple of bold moves that we have done to actually accomplish it. And then I thought that it would be very nice for our audience to know a little bit about us, because we are always talking about the trends and what is happening, and what is new in AI, but we never really talk or discuss how we got started with this.
Well, I
So
mean, and I was going to say as well, Marina. I mean, I get a lot. I mean, you and I both lectured and would talk about that journey we took to where we are today. But a lot of students, and I still get messages from people on LinkedIn, like, what would you recommend for me to get into, data science or AI? And I think that's got to be really clear as far as what the differentiator is, and we can talk about, what makes it. I think there's a lot of hype around AI, right? Ever you see, and
yes.
and a friend of mine, a fellow student of mine, we did AI in back in 2020, 2021. We finished, or 2022 actually. One. Anyway, don't make a difference. Whatever it was,
Okay.
it's trauma, trauma. But like today, Declan Foster is his name, and he posted something on LinkedIn, and he just said, has anyone noticed a recent explosion on LinkedIn post promising to reveal how to get rich using agentic AI? And it's not just on LinkedIn; it's also on TikTok and Instagram. And I mean, I think that people feel like, oh, I'm being left behind, and sometimes, being honest, I feel that way. But then it's like, well, hold on, I think there's just
Well,
too much hype.
I share that feeling. Recently, I even had a conversation with someone that I told him, like, sometimes everything is evolving that fast that I feel like, how come maybe I am not using this, as everyone promises that it would be, I don't know, you will be rich or you can make a lot of money, and then I just think like, no, no, but you cannot really be updated with everything that is happening. It's barely impossible. So I always suggest take a path, narrow this, and go deep into that. Instead of wanting to know everything, because in the end, it's kind of a little bit of everything, but a lot of nothing. So then, this is actually what is happening, and what I see is everyone is focusing now in creating agents, but nobody is really talking about the decentralized AI. And this is something that we have will actually be an explosion in the future. I read today an article from McKinsey that they mentioned that it is expected a compound annual growth rate of 80%. 80, like from here to 2030. So then it's crazy.
Well, I
And
mean, yeah, well, I mean, but you ask someone like that, these AI experts. Sorry, just to just say this part is ask them, well, give me some business real use cases, and that's where it kind of like the wheels fall off the cart. It's like, you know,
they don't
I mean,
have
they
it.
talk about like, yeah, okay, email automation, okay, that's great. Calendar, okay, that's great. And so and then what? Sorry.
Well, but it's very good that we now can actually be in this discussion, because something that it's important to mention is that everything that we know, everything that you, James, and I will know, it didn't happen overnight. So then
No,
it was not that we were lucky. It was
I'm
not
still in
that
therapy.
It was not that we met someone, in my case, I decided to study analytics because I was very passionate about the statistics.
Yeah.
And I really love it from the very beginning. When I was studying business back in Argentina, statistics was literally my passion. I really like it. I thought like, okay, this is fantastic. I want to learn more about this. When I moved to Ireland and I wanted to have a better life, I was very lucky because Ireland provided these springboard programs where people could actually get a scholarship to study at the mature age, especially it
And they
was
still do, by the way.
yeah, that's actually a great initiative, and I would say that this was the reason why I could actually do this, because otherwise I would never have been able to afford it. And when I studied data analytics, at the very beginning it was really hard for me because I
And
didn't
that's
have
where and that's where we met.
background.
Yeah, that's where we
That's
met.
that's where we met. That's where we met. And yes, but as I didn't have a technical background, for me it was super hard. And many times I thought about quitting. And I don't know how many YouTube videos I watch to check, how to do some visualization, how to do some coding. I tried to read like some codes, and for me it was impossible to understand until, well, when you helped me. Of course, like there was like a tragedy in my family, but then I really need a hand, and then this is where you show up, and then you started explaining me how to actually read the codes, and this was when it cracked in my head. After that, and then I started, having or finding the logic on this, and then, well, I am very grateful to you for that. Actually, that's why we're like super good friends as well, like nowadays. But
Well, I mean,
still,
it's because I read the book, how to do Python and do it. Learn Python in a day and learn it well. Like, that's the book I learned. So
there
I
was.
learned it in a day, and I learned it well.
Yes. Well, so for the audience, just for you to know, there was in a moment a trend of this kind of book of learn Python in one day and learn it well.
I think
Learn
it's the same thing.
SQL one day
It's
and
the
learn
same
it
thing
well.
in YouTube. It's the same thing in YouTube. I mean, watch a YouTube video and you know how to code. And I'm not saying that you can't learn from YouTube video. I'm not saying that, but you're not going to learn it in a day.
No, it's not in a day. So then definitely, I think I watch so many YouTube videos for Java, especially because we started coding in Java.
Oh yeah.
And then I think that YouTube will recommend me Java videos for the rest of my life because it was extremely hard. I would say the Python was much easier. And well, it's the language that all the data scientists mostly use, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I don't know why they want that. I remember that was in the level 7 why they wanted us to learn Java, but I remember going through it and I mean I did coding when I was in high school, and I'm not going to tell you what year that was, but it was a long time ago. All right. And
Nobody needs to know that, like in another
exactly.
life.
I gotta have my own personal life separate. Anyway, and going through Java, I mean, it was like so many curly braces, and when like on Python, you can just say, you create a variable on the spot and say it equals this, and that's it. Where
And
remember
that's it.
in Java, you have to declare it at the top, and you have to take what type of variable it is. Is it an integer? Is it a double? You couldn't just put it
Just
in
do
as
it,
that.
just create the object, and
Yeah.
that's it. Well, so something very funny, James, was when we were in college, and I remember our Java classes, on the screen, like, okay, this is an integer, this is a double, this is a float, this is that. Is it clear? Yes. Does it make sense? Yes. Okay, now you code it. And we were
Yeah, I
like,
remember that. He was
how
he'd
would
be
we
like,
start?
he'd just say, "Yep, you
Yes.
got this. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah." And we were like, "Yeah, yeah, okay, now do it." And that was
Yes.
that was always the big test. Like, "Oh yeah, you say you know it, now do it." And we had a guy in our class. I remember. Do you remember? And it was like the lecturer would be talking, and then it was like one guy described it as the pressure valve. The pressure would,
Yes.
and he's like, "No, no, 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 no. I don't understand this. What part? Go back from the very beginning." Hello. Yeah.
Well, but actually, I think like all of us, we were a bit lost, and
He was the only one that was brave enough to say it. Yeah.
a difference that I would say between the students from now and the students from our cohort, I would say, is that I would never question, if what we had to do was actually okay or not. If the lecturer said, okay, you have to do this, we just did it, and that was it. And then later with the time, and especially with all the ChatGPT coming up, that the students are using it more and more, we receive a lot of criticism as a lecturer, on then why are we learning this? Why do we need to know that? With the time, I just understood that maybe, if we learn Python and then learn Java, it would have been like much harder than learning Java first and then Python, because Python was kind of a relief.
Yeah.
So whereas if it was the other way around, it would have been like harder. So then in that sense, I understand that maybe we need to have some idea or some sense of that. But anyway, so then the point is, how do you know if data analytics or data science is the right path for you? And something that I would like to mention is, for me, it's really hard to separate or to divide my personal life and my private life, because data became a passion. So then, how many times, James, like we actually were in a Zoom meeting, trying to check, I don't know, some code if it is working well, or talking about some, I don't know, some chapter of a book, or talking about our certification from DASCA or anything. Like, this is something that we spend a lot of time on, even though we are not working. Or we are
Yeah.
in meetings and then we start talking about this just because you love it, and then it's not that you feel that you are really working, you feel that you are doing something you love. And I believe that this is actually the key.
Well, you definitely have to have a passion for it because, the long nights, and that's why I was saying the trauma bit, because it was a lot of work, a lot of busy work. And the way I learn is, as my background is financial services. And you say, how did we start? I remember it was the fourth quarter of 2018. And it was the algo traders that had brought the market down, and I was like, no, I need to figure what's going on here. And that started me in my journey, and I started to level 7 in 2019. That's where I met you. And that's where mine came from, because I always looked at, like I did technical analysis, which was looking at charts. And in there you have, like, you look at, like, say, the stochastics, RSI, the MACDs, moving average, convergence, divergence, moving averages. And you then go and look at patterns and look at the, which, when you look at, like, moving averages, is a smoothing technique in statistics, right? As I know now, at the time it's like, well, no, this is how you look at it. And that's where I was always wanting to find those insights, and then to be able to repeat that process over and over. And that's what AI is. I was talking to someone today about something very boring called accounting. And I say, well, this is how you do the accounting bit. And he's like, well, I know you're an AI. And it's like, yeah, but AI is just that. There's a pattern, or there's a way of doing things. And even like the discussion, and does AI really think? Well, it's really good at detecting patterns. Well, that's using statistics, right? And using the data points and statistics to be able to detect that. And so that's really where mine came in. But I can see, like, if I look at the amount of people that did the course, um, when I did the course, and are no longer there, or didn't complete it, is quite a bit. And it's just because it takes a lot of commitment.
It takes a lot of commitment, it takes a lot of time as well. And as I said, if you don't really love it, it's super hard to keep it up.
You're not
um,
going to do it. Yeah.
Yes, and I even believe, yesterday I had a chat with a professor, like an IT professor here in Germany, and then he told me, well, now everyone is in this hype about AI, and everyone wants to learn AI or study AI. And then he said, but before it was called statistics, then machine learning, then data science, and now it's AI. And he made me laugh on that, because I just realized that maybe the part of AI was actually good for me, because I was passionate about the statistics from the very beginning. And then even when I was doing this without coding, and I was learning like from the books and understanding, all the um, I don't know, models, let's say, that are behind, I think it was actually my main help in this. You know.
Well, yeah, because you understand what's going on underneath the hood, as we call it. We know what's happening. And so when something is not right, or something is off, you can kind of, you have a what would you call it, a intuition. so something's not right here. Something doesn't smell right
Yes,
here.
but also this intuition is not coming, like magically. The point is, when you decide to go through this path, you need to know that studying something and getting your degree will not land you a job. Like, you have to keep learning on your own, and this is something that I am extremely sure that James and I we have done, because basically I lived that journey with him. So then we were learning anyway, like after the college, and it's amazing to achieve your degree and to have your master's or your diploma, and you feel fantastic. I do. I would not say it's not, and I would say that you learn a lot and you learn all the bases. But the reality is that you need to dedicate many evenings, many weekends, many of your, a lot of your free time, to keep, yeah, to keep learning and going deeper. And then, eventually a job will actually show up. One of my concerns was that I thought, okay, I'm a mature student, nobody will give me a job in analytics. Why would they hire me if they can hire a junior?
Who's the more senior here?
I know, I know, but in my head it was like, if they can hire a junior, who can start, I don't know, let's say at 25 years old, and maybe faster or whatever, and that was not my case at all. I would say that the age also give you experience that you can bring to the companies. It's not just intuition; is knowing how to talk maybe to stakeholders, how to present very well a report, um, how to use the appropriate words. So then there are more values that I believe that the companies would check on you.
Well, I mean, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's like business use cases where that's great. All of this, and that's one of my friends. I remember he would say, in academia they build, castles in the sky, So yeah, and I know that the castles in the sky have to be built in order to be able to then create stuff on the ground. But really, and this is one of the things I would say to my students when I was lecturing is, when you do, so we would do I was like lecturing at CCT like you were as well, and one of the things that I would cover was strategic thinking, and in strategic thinking was a capstone project. So you would say, okay, I'm going to do this capstone project, and it was over 2 semesters, and it was the only module that was over 2 semesters. The strategic thinking is basically, combining those hard skills that you're learning, programming and statistics and data visualization and all of those, and then you have the soft skills, which is what you're saying: communication, collaboration. Um, the big one is critical thinking, or how do working in a domain. And so it's like I always say to the students, you're going to work on your project. When you select a project, find a job on LinkedIn and say, this is a project I want to do to get that job. So that would be my advice today. If you're looking to say, what do I do? Look at what you want to do and say, okay, this would be my ideal dream job. Well, what do I need to learn to be able to get that job? And I know it's going to change, but for now, it's still going to be what you need to learn. I mean, if you're saying, being able to clean data, collect data, data mining, and then doing some data visualizations and doing some statistical tests, and then running it through a machine learning model, and then coming back, and then how do you put that into production?
I want to remind our audience, because I see that we have a couple of viewers there live. Feel free to ask any question. If you have any question for us, we will be happy to hear your thoughts. Maybe you have some concerns about whether to start studying data science or AI, and then we can clarify that with our experience. So then feel free to do so. And James, related to all the skills that you were mentioning, it's entirely true. And these are things that I would say that we can bring value on. As well, something that I would like to mention, because people yesterday in this event that I attended, they said like, oh, but I don't have a technical background. How will I do to be able to develop or to code? I always mention that you could have different strengths. Maybe you are not the best developer, because it could happen. Maybe you are not. Maybe you are not the best coder, or the person who said, okay, I will be like super fast coding, but then you have leadership skills, management skills, and you understand how long could actually a person take to complete the project, what do you need to know? And then this is also important, and it's something that you can bring as well. So I mean, the job is not only, okay, I will be a data analyst or a data scientist or an AI developer. So you can have different roles. You can be a manager, you can be a lead, you can be a head of. I mean, there is a super long path in this. I don't know, James, if you agree with me on that, and you don't need to be
Yeah,
like,
but I mean, there's a
you
lot of
need,
roles. There's a
yes,
lot of roles out there. I mean, meaning like, I mean, I'm sure you're going like, oh, there's, what roles are out there, and it's really competitive. And I mean, I would say it is competitive. It is, but but I think it goes back down to, and now this is probably old school. This is me, Mr. Old School here, right? Where it comes to like networking, like like you went to this conference, you meet people, you talk to people,
yes,
in a non formal way as such. So you might go to maybe join. I know like there's Meetup.com. There's the different conferences. There's different like Python groups and data science groups and data analytics groups, and going and meeting people at these events and meeting them in an informal way, and you get to be seen, and that as well is going to put your name at the top of the list. Because if you look at now and say, okay, if there's a role on LinkedIn, right? How many people now are using AI to tailor their CV to go on to LinkedIn, or sorry,
oh,
for the job, the
so
role,
many,
right? And
yes.
and so then you say, okay, if everyone's doing that, then you've got to think about it. Are people actually, so if you apply for a job, whatever the job may be. So, like I said, there's a lot of roles. It could be data engineer, machine learning engineer. There's now AI engineer, AI automation engineer. There's data
Yeah,
analytics.
I need.
Then there's there's junior, senior, lead, principal. There's like so many, right? And so, where do you fit into all of that? And so, are people, when you apply for that job, are they actually reading your CV? Is there someone on the other end when you put your CV that's actually reading a CV, or is it an AI that's reading the CV?
Well, so unfortunately, there is an AI scanning the CVs nowadays.
Yeah. So
But
it's
although,
AI applying for AI, right? So AI, you use AI to fix your CV, and then you have AI on the other end reading it. So it's AI to AI.
yeah, it's kind of hard, right?
Yeah.
Well,
So
I never give it a thought, but that's true. But unfortunately, this is what it is, because imagine like HR people when they receive like 100 applications, how do they do to read them all, or more than 100? It's
one
something
thing
that
on
didn't happen in the past.
one thing on LinkedIn, like I'm just going to look really quick here, and we got to be careful. And the reason I'm saying got to be careful is I don't want to say something like I want a job, and then next thing I start getting all these emails, right? But like if I go like, okay, so here's jobs, here's a senior data analyst, right? So I click that. Oh, it's in Latvia. It's remote. So if I look at this here, okay, so right now, okay, I guess nobody wants to move to Latvia. It says 55 people have applied for this job. But the thing is that, oh, here's one in Germany, senior product analyst. How many people have applied? 527. That's what it says there.
Wow. Okay.
527. But the thing is that have they really applied for this job? How does LinkedIn know that they've applied for this job? So if I click here, apply, right, it's going to take me in there, and they're going to count that as an application. But what if I abandon the application, go like, no, I don't want to do this. It's too much work, or maybe
Yeah,
I
or
don't
this is
want to
not my
move to
profile, or
Germany.
this is not my fit, or whatever. Yes.
Yeah, and then but it's still counted, right? So really, but even if let's say half of that, if half of those people, you're still
I,
talking 200, 250. I mean, I know 250 is half, but what I'm saying is like you're still 200, 250 applicants, and so a hiring manager has got to filter those out, and how do they do that?
well, I believe we use an AI, like scanning if they have most of the skills that they are asking for, and then this will be like the filtration.
So then how do
Um,
you stand out then? If everyone's doing this, how do you stand out? You know, I still go, and that's why I say I still go back to you meet someone and say I met Marina at this conference. I think she'd be a great fit for a role, blah blah blah, and you meet them in a non-formal way, rather than because if you stuck your CV in a company there, I'm not saying you're applying for a job or anything like that. Please don't anyone take that.
no, no, it's like
But,
a
hey,
hypothesis. Yes.
so what I'm saying is that you did that. They remembered that they met you, and they're like, yeah, and we had a conversation, and because ultimately it's really not, when you get a job, it is, there is a test of hard skills, but ultimately, you'll learn the domain and you'll learn the job, but it's, do you fit in the organization? Are you a good fit for this team? And that's
Well,
really what
so
you know.
yes, and this is important, and I believe that what you are mentioning, James, also about the people around you, that people that you meet, that they know you and they see your personality, etc. It's a great way to actually get contacts and say, okay, maybe I can get a job here. And it comes to our very, very first point of the conversation, always related to AI. AI is a great tool, but the human is still in the center. And having like a relationships contacts would be always in the center. Guys, I really hope that you enjoy our story, a little, that you could take something out of this. Maybe James, well, you explained already what motivates you to well, to actually
Yeah,
pursue
well,
this.
I mean, we go back to, like, is it your passion? Is it, AI, your passion? And I think, and you've mentioned this before, Marina, is like, when someone says you're an AI expert, and you're like, well, or what do you specialize in? We know that AI and data science is so large and vast. It could be in
Yes,
robotics, it can be in medications, or,
virtual reality,
pharmaceuticals, or
yeah,
virtual reality, or, you've got computer
gaming.
vision, NLP. You have all these different areas, and so you have to decide what you like, do you want to be in robotics? Do you want to be in facial recognition or videos, or do you want to be in business and being able to, predict sales and work on different aspects of the business? Is, I think, is where you would need to find for yourself, and then applying it, because I think that's, by actually applying it into the domain, is a good way for you to remember, because there is a lot. And I've got a friend, Reese, that's doing it now. My friend, he's from Bolivia. That's all I'm going to say. You know who I'm talking about, Marina. And he's recently doing the data analytics course, and he's just saying it's a lot of information. And I'm just saying yes, but it is repetitive, and it's in different contexts and different areas. But you just got to say, like, he's working in a business, and I said to him, get for his capstone, I said, get the business from the data from the business, scratch that, reverse, data from the business, not for the business from the data. And then you go and you do your capstone project in that, and you'll remember that, because that's what you do every day. You know what I mean? You'll remember, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that time when that data, it was, we had missing values. Well, how did you impute the data? The missing, what did you do? Oh, I used the median. Well, why didn't you use the mode? Or why didn't you use, uh, whatever, you know what I mean? And you say, well, I use that because um, this worked best. The median worked better than the mean in the mode, and so that's why I use that, because my data, when I put it out and I looked at the histogram, it was not a normal distribution, and I did a distribution test on it, and it came back, it was skewed. So
I
how did
think
you?
it's I think it's a great advice trying to use the data and, well, data science, data analytics, and what you are learning in something that you really know, like a business, or for example HR. We have seen this like in the master thesis many times. That the students use the cases from the business where they are working, and then they try to include the analytics, and I think that is actually wonderful. My last words for this episode is that statistics is a beautiful path. For me, it literally changed my life. I was very blessed that I could learn, and I found like the best professor who taught me many things. And then I was very lucky that I was in Ireland and I could do these studies with a scholarship, and then that I met you, James, as well, because it encourages you, And then when you find your group of people who are also with the same interest, it also push you forward, and you can see that your life can really change a lot, and then you end up doing something that you love. And I think this is the best thing that could happen to us, because we spend a lot of time at work.
Well, you know what Mark Twain said about statistics, right?
Why? I didn't say. Tell me.
Mark
That
Twain,
it was.
do you know who Mark Twain is? He's an American author. Do you know what he said about statistics?
What did he say? Tell
He said
me.
he said there's lies, damn lies, and then there's statistics.
They don't really know. Someone told me like statistics is the poor cousin of maths, and I was like, what? But but it's actually the basis of everything that we're doing today with data science, with AI. So then everything is based on probability. So then we can
Well, do you
discuss.
know that
Let's have
78? Do you know that 78% of statistics are made up on the spot?
it.
Yeah,
So
sorry. I'm gonna get all my statistics jokes out. Come on, Marina.
no, but anyway, like it's a beautiful path, and if you really like it, go for it. Don't be afraid. If we could do this at a mature age, and if I could do this without technical background, guys, anyone can do this. Like if you really like it, you can go for it. That's
Did
that's
you
that. That's my
did
last
you hear
word.
about the statistician that drowned in the river? That was 1 meter deep on average.
Stop it. Well, but seriously, it was really nice sharing our story with all of you, and I really hope that you found some insights or some motivation after today. And don't pay attention to the jokes of statistics. Statistics is best.
Yeah, forget them all. Just get them out of your mind.
Yeah, exactly. So that part you can block it, from your mind.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, James. It was great to have you, and I really enjoyed this podcast because I think it's really nice that you also know a little bit about us as well.
All right. Thanks,
Oh,
Anita. Thanks,
so I
everyone.
will
And
see you next week, probably with
next
one
week in
extra
town,
Chinese.
we'll have our Chinaman back next week, right?
Yes, yes. So the popular one. So then our views will increase so much.
He is the famous one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Guys, have a great one and see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.